Hello, everyone. So, today, when I was sitting in my classroom, I saw another advertisement for Lighthouse, and it got me thinking, Robert Eggers, he's made some pretty great stuff. So, let's talk about The Witch. So, The Witch is a movie set in like old America. It's about these English immigrants that move to New England and they get kicked out of their little plantation area and they have to start their own farm. And as soon as they get there, they're getting all these awful things happening to them. Their newborn child gets kidnapped, their other kid gets kidnapped, but then he shows up naked and like he has a fucking rotten apple in his mouth. It's weird, but that's pretty much the synopsis to the movie. This family moves to a new farming location, and everything just kind of goes to hell pretty quickly. Um, I think it's one of the most interesting horror movies I've seen in a hot minute because it doesn't necessarily feel like a horror movie throughout the movie. It felt like a really well done period piece more than anything else. One thing I really loved about it was the cinematography and the color grading on everything. The environment of the movie felt so just gray and bleak, and it really gave off this feeling of, oh my god, I'm depressed. And I think that's what the movie was going for. If it wasn't, I don't know what the hell they did, but if it was, they hit it right on the head. And I really loved it. It's a pretty fast-paced movie. The action kind of picks up pretty quickly. It's a shorter movie. It's only about maybe hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, I think. It's a really beautiful landscape. I loved all the shots in the movie. I thought the story was really well written. Well written. Oh my god. Anyways, it was a really well written story. I loved all the characters. It was one of the first horror movies I actually like felt something for the main characters. Everyone from Thomason to Caleb to even at times I cared about like Mercy and Jonas. Not really much. They were kind of just annoying kids and I almost wanted them to die earlier in the movie. Maybe that's awful to say because they're like 8, but they're also just kind of assholes. So, another thing I found really interesting throughout the movie is it seemed like it was almost a cautionary tale about lying. Like it feels like a story you would tell a little kid like, "Ooh, she lied about this and now look at her. She's dancing with Satan in the pale moonlight." It's like that's a horror story for a child, but the way they were able to portray it in this movie and how even the smallest little thing made everything change early in the movie, after the kid goes missing, Samuel, um, Thomason was supposed to be watching him, and then she was like playing peekaboo with him. I'm sure you've all have seen the trailer. She like moves her hands, the baby's fucking gone. There's nothing there. It's whoa, spooky. Everyone says it's a wolf, but obviously it wasn't a wolf because you would have seen a wolf running away. Um, so later on in the movie, one of the younger kids, Mercy, comes over to her and she's like, "Hey, I'm the Witch of the Wood," and Thomason just kind of goes, "No, no, I'm the Witch of the Wood," and she pretty much just like pushes the kid on the ground and threatens to eat her and the rest of her family, and that was a little bit weird. I thought it was kind of funny almost when I first watched the movie, and I thought it was a really good idea of introducing that like idea that like lying is the capital sin. Like that's the worst thing you could do almost. Um Another thing I thought was interesting throughout the whole movie was the fact that Caleb was more of a sinner than Thomason, and then both of the kids were more of a sinner than Tom. Everyone in the family was more of a sinner than Thomason, but Thomason got the worst end of the stick. Of course, in the end of the movie, she becomes a witch, but throughout the movie, she just pretty much gets bullied by her mother. And in the end, there's this scene where like her father's like, "Hey, are you a witch?" And she's like laying down all these facts, like, "Hey, you didn't tell mom about the silver cup until I got fucked over. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. You're a hypocrite, you're a piece of shit." And the father's just like, "Shut the hell up." and pretty much throws her into the house and is like, "Hey, what did you say about the kids?" And she's like, "Ah, the kids are evil." And so the father's only logical idea is to lock them all in a barn with a goat that's apparently Satan. That was also a character I thought was really interesting. Black Phillip, big ups to that. I loved that character. I thought it was a really cool idea of like introducing I guess Satan in a way to a story where he wouldn't make sense in like a physical form, like, ooh, he's coming out of the woods, look out, it's literally the devil. No, I thought Black Phillip was really well done, a really good way of like keeping the character in the loop without like obviously having him there. I also thought it was really smart that the kids could talk to him because obviously Thomason saw the issue with it, and then the parents were like, "Oh, they're just kids, they're just talking to the goat and worshiping Satan." And that's one thing I didn't love about the movie was there were points when the kids would start like singing about like how Black Phillip was like the king of all and he was gonna like eat people and shit, and it was like, hey, that's not really Christian, I don't think. But the parents obviously didn't care, so they just kind of went about their days. Um, Also, a really great part to this movie, whenever Thomason would like even side with the parents would just fucking yell at her. Like Thomason would there's a scene where the kid was fucking singing and the mom was like, "Hey, stop." And Thomason was like, "Yeah, stop." And the mom was just like, "Thomason, what the fuck is wrong with you? Shut the hell up. I'm so sick of your shit. We're gonna send you to the other town to go work for a family who actually fucking needs you." And that was pretty entertaining. I thought. I loved that. Another thing I was kind of confused about throughout the movie was how the family like loves Caleb unconditionally. Like I remember when Caleb got lost in the woods, it was his idea to go out there. Of course, the parents didn't know that, but they just kind of instantly blamed Thomason because, hey, fuck you. You're not a trustworthy person. They did the same thing with the silver cup when the mother was like, hey, my cup's missing. Thomason, you got anything you want to tell me? And Thomason was like, well, I never touched it. And then the mother was just like, huh, I don't believe you. And the father doesn't say anything at this point, which just kind of proves he's a shitty father. And he gets into that later with his whole like he has this breakdown in the rain. He's like, pride is my sin, I know it, or something like that. And that was a really emotional part. Let me also say all the acting in this movie was absolutely incredible. I thought the girl who played Thomason, I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she was absolutely phenomenal in this movie. All the other actors and the actresses, the kid who played Kayla, the adults that played both the parents, they were all so good. I thought they all were really good. They filled their roles. They felt right in the setting. They felt like they belonged in the setting. Like, and that's partially the costume design, which was absolutely perfect, of course. Um, and just like the way they talk, the way they picked up that like accent and that like old English way of speaking, like I could never read dialogue in a way like that. The way they talk throughout the movie, at times it was a bit confusing. Like for someone who speaks normal English, hearing that it was kind of like, hey, that doesn't sound normal. Is that even English? Just kidding, I'm not that stupid. But it was like difficult to understand at times. Like there was this one scene where Caleb wakes up early to go help his dad, and then the dad is like, it's gray mornings like this, the devil hold fast your eyelids, and it's like, well, I would certainly hope he doesn't, because that seems like a bit of an issue, but okay. Um in the beginning of the movie, they're all really god like fearing people. But then, as the movie, of course, the course of events unfolds, the kids originally are the first ones to kind of start saying, like, hey, maybe this God thing isn't so cool after all. And then the dad's like, hey, shut up. We gotta worship God. And then the mom's like, hey, I don't know if I believe in God anymore. And the dad's like, what the hell? What? And then the mother says that they need to get rid of their daughter. She's becoming an adult. They need to give her to a family that can actually use her. And and there's this kind of emotional bit between Thomason and the mother when they're supposed to leave. It's kind of odd. Actually, no, never mind. It's when she gets back from when Caleb goes missing. She gets back and she's like, "Oh, the goat's asleep," and the mom's like, "Nope, leave it till tomorrow." And Thomason's like, "No, I'll do it, please, ya." And then the mother's like, Be swift." So she goes out there and puts the goats to sleep. And that's where she finds Caleb, of course. So then the family's all like, "Hey, how did you find Caleb, right, in the pouring rain? You were the one that was with him when he got lost. How did you lose Samuel, right? How the hell did that happen?" And then later, of course, the two kids die in the barn, or they disappear in the barn when the other witch shows up, Flora. She kind of abducts them and then ruins the whole fucking barn, guts all their goats, and just leaves them there. Because the father comes out the next morning, the whole barn's destroyed, and Thomason's just sleeping there. She doesn't know what the hell is going on. And then Black Phillip kills the father. Let me just say, that was kind of like, I wasn't expecting that at all. I wasn't expecting the father to die, especially not from Black Phillip, but it was really jarring scene, which is hard to find in modern day horror. And then the mother comes out and she just sees all these like dead bodies and ruined shit everywhere, and she goes, "Hey, Thomason, what the fuck are you doing, man?" And then Thomason's like, "I didn't actually do anything." And the mother's like, "Yes, you did." And then the mother tries to choke her to death. Thomason stabs her a couple times and then just sits inside of the house until the night comes. She hears these chimes outside and she goes out to see Black Phillip, and she starts talking to him. And Black Phillip's like, "Hey, if you write your name in my book, I can promise you the best life." And then she's like, "I don't want to write my name in your book." But then he's like, "I'll guide your hand." And I guess she's like, "Okay, sure, why not now?" So she signs the book and then she wanders off into the woods naked and finds the other witches. And they all start doing this weird fucking dance thing. And then they just start levitating. And that's where the movie ends. It just cuts off right there. So overall, this movie I thought was really great. It was one of the probably the best modern horror movie I've seen in years. um I thought the acting was really great, the writing was really well done, the cinematography, the color grading, the music in this movie was great at building the tension. The strings and the orchestral hits, they were perfectly timed. It was a perfectly timed movie. I loved it. So overall, I'm gonna give this movie probably a 5 out of 5 salmons. I thought it was really entertaining. It was a fun watch. It was something I could see myself watching multiple times over. And honestly, I could see it kind of becoming like a Halloween tradition for me to watch, because it was just like that entertaining of a movie. It was like sitting back and just watching everything unfold. It started off so slowly, but then like once things started spiraling out of control, they spiraled fast. And then the way that everyone, like, they got kind of more tense near each other and they got like more aggressive towards each other. It was perfectly written. It was perfectly acted. I loved it. It was incredible. 5 out of 5. Probably my favorite horror movie in the past 5, 10 years, maybe. All right, well, that is going to be all for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you get a chance, definitely check out this movie. This is The Witch by Robert Eggers. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. And I'll see you in the next one.